Welcome to the Livfiit Listens podcast, a safe space of growth, personal development, and overall wellness with your host, Olivia Catania. Diving into the realms of all things health, conscious living, mental expansion, and much more, this podcast is designed to help you evolve into your best self and live fit. Let's get into the show. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to episode 60 of the Livfiit Listens podcast. I hope everyone is doing really well. Last time you heard from me, I hinted that a sickness was coming on to me, and I had no idea what was coming for me that week. This past week, I've been very sick, sicker than I thought I was going to get. I had kind of a mild fever, but then I had really bad congestion, really bad stuffy nose, really awful freaking cough, the kind of cough where I felt like I was about to cough up a freaking ab muscle. It just was such a deep, dry cough that was freaking wrecking me. But nevertheless, I feel like a real person again. On Friday is when I started to feel kind of better, and now here I am on Sunday. So we've resurrected a little bit. For my gratitude for today, I'm feeling really grateful for little day trips, because I definitely feel like, especially this time of year, we all know I struggle a little bit with, the winter time, which also that reminds me, my brother, when I was talking to him when I was sick, he was like, Liv, I swear you're not even actually sick. It's just your seasonal depression and your body needs vitamin D and sunshine. And I was like, Luke, I've never felt more understood by you in my entire life. That's exactly what it is. So I need some sunshine freaking soon and warm weather. But anyways, I just am feeling really thankful for day trips, because I did that yesterday, and it just is such a fun and honestly kind of easy way to just romanticize not only your life, but also the people in your life and where you live and stuff like that. And I just feel like it can be really fun, going to new little coffee shops. All I did was go to literally the next town over, but still was such a fun little morning adventure, and it still felt new just because there was places that I hadn't been and shops I hadn't been into and things like that. So it just was fun. 10 out of 10 recommend. So that is what I'm grateful for during this episode and for this week, is little day trips. But anyway, so for this episode, I touched on this topic big time during my the end of 2023 goal setting episode, which you guys seem to love, which I love that. But especially near the end of the episode, I kind of went on this big rant all about kind of embodiment and how it's a huge theme for me this year. And I just felt like it would be, a perfect time now to give more of a dedicated episode to it, because I truly feel like it can help so many of you when it comes to actually achieving your goals this year and actually truly making them happen. And I know how much that they've completely impacted my life and have changed the game in terms of me actually having my goals come into fruition. So I have 3 main points here when it comes to embodiment that I want to talk about, and obviously some examples, because I just again want to really share how much me living with in the intention of embodiment has really truly changed my life in every literal sense. So basically, I just want to start off with my take of kind of how embodiment comes into play, I guess, and just kind of set the scene a little bit, because I feel like so many of us have goals, right? Obviously, I hope. And so many of us tend to have that initial innate thought of oh, we need to go do work outside of ourselves, to go become it, right? We need to go become said version of ourselves because we're not already it, right? It's lying outside of ourselves. Or so many of us are idolizing certain people, whether they're celebrities or people in our life, and we would think oh, I would love, I wish I could go be like them, or I wish I could live a life like them, or I wish I could have the same job, or XYZ, whatever the case may be, right? And so often our goals come with the thought that we need to seek something outside of ourselves to go get it, or that we can't have it, I guess, if you will. Which, by the way, that is one of my pet peeves, when people see someone that they look up to and they just speak to them as if oh, kind of must be nice, I'll never know. For me, I'm no, that's sick. I have inspiration. What can I do to go be the traits that they have? What can I do to go attain those said attributes? And the point I want to make here as to why kind of adopting those mindsets and being in that frequency is dangerous is because that is you operating out of a lack mindset. Now, let me explain, or a lack frequency. If you are constantly thinking that you need to be working to go become something or working to go attain something, right? You will then never be it. Okay. And this is kind of the law of energetics that seems a little bit but when you kind of get it, you're okay, I see what you're saying. When you are sitting here thinking that oh, I need to go work outside of myself to go become it, or oh, I wish I could go be like them. all you are doing is reinforcing and validating the idea that you are not it or that you do not have it, hence why you are wanting it in the first place. Because if you already have it, if you already were it, if you already were experiencing it, you wouldn't be feeling that yearning, that desiring, right, that wanting, or else you would be having it, right? So it's kind of that law of energetics where it's like if you feel like you are wanting something or yearning something, with that, it is inevitably tied to kind of the concept that you do not presently have it, or else you wouldn't be feeling that emotion, you wouldn't be feeling that frequency, right? When you have something, you feel gratitude for it, you feel appreciation, you're feeling joy, you're feeling happy, you're feeling excited, right? So that kind of wanting emotion is inevitably kind of tied / implies the idea that you do not have it. Now, I don't want to be crazy. Like, I'm not saying this doesn't mean that you should never want something, but all I'm trying to stress here is to be very careful, I guess, with the energy that you show up to certain things with and the way that your mind works through things, because as we all know, like our thoughts, our words, everything are constantly manifesting our reality here. And why embodiment is so powerful is because you already are acting as if, right? You are already acting as if you had said thing. You are already acting as if you are your best version. You already are acting as if you are living your dream life. And why that's so powerful is because it's so magnetizing. It is so polarizing because you are not operating from a frequency of lack anymore. You are operating from a state of abundance, right? And that, of course, as we all know, when you're in an abundance mindset, when you're acting from abundance frequency, you are attracting the frequency that you are operating at, obviously. So if you're in an abundance mindset or in an abundance frequency, that is what you're going to continue to attract, and you're going to be in a very magnetizing and polarized state. And what's really cool about this is because when you are in your when you are showing up in your embodied state, your attainments come to you. And I want to be crystal clear with my delivery here. I'm not saying that like there's going to be no, I guess, pursuit of attaining said goals, right? I'm not saying that you're just going to say, oh, I am a millionaire, and then the next day that you're a millionaire. No, like, I'm not trying to say that you need to be in denial and be like, oh, well, Liv said I already am, so I don't have to do anything. Like, if I just say I'm a millionaire, I'll be a millionaire. If I just say I have a six-pack, I'll have a six-pack and not need to go to the gym or eat better or XYZ. No, there's still an attainment factor, right? Like, aligned action always has a place. I don't think there will ever be a podcast where I'm like, well, aligned action doesn't really apply here, because you always are going to need aligned action to bridge the gap, right? But the difference here is that instead of chasing your goals outside of yourself, right, that come with you enforcing the idea that you are not already your dream version or that you do not have that dream life, right? Instead of acting from that chased energy, right, that chasing energy, you're able to stay put and magnetize your attainments towards you. And I know we're kind of getting really heavily into energetics, but it really completely has 100% merit to it and really holds true. And a visual that I want to share with you guys that may help you, that I see kind of a lot on Instagram, it's like it's always from those spiritual pages too, where there'll be like a little figure of a human, and sometimes there'll be like an orb around it of colorful energy, or it'll be kind of apart from it. And for me, when I'm thinking of that initial thing that I said previously of like when you're kind of in that chase state or feeling like you need to go work outside of yourself to go become it, or kind of enforcing that lack state that if you're wanting it, that means you don't have it, right? That's kind of, I visualize that as the stick figure, and then kind of that energetic orb off to the right of it, if you will, and then you having to constantly go chase it to go seek it. Whereas opposed to when you're in your full embodiment frequency, that's when that aura just kind of automatically comes around you. And that's what I mean when I say that you're able to magnetize your goals towards you. Not that you don't need to go attain it, right? You're still attaining it, but instead of going to chase it, you're able to attract it towards you, which is much more effortless, right? But I also feel like it's also a better fit for you, because kind of the attainments are almost able to come kind of mold towards your own energetic footprint, if you will, as opposed to you trying to go fill shoes by having to go chase it outside of yourself, if that makes sense. And another huge point that I want to make here is that when you don't embody the goals that you have set for yourself, right, you don't embody showing up with the energy that you would need to in order to achieve said goals, we tend to wait for external circumstance, which I've touched on this in a previous episode. We tend to wait for our external circumstance to kind of prove to us that we are living that reality, which if you actually take a second to think about it, it just truly doesn't make any sense, because how can your outward reality reflect a change that hasn't even taken place internally yet? right? And this was a very clear principle that I described in that kind of end of the year podcast episode, that your internal reality dictates your external reality. However, so many of us think that our external reality is dictating our internal reality. But if we live like that, we're constantly just going to be spinning our tires, because it's causing us to not take the action that we need to then be creating our external reality and have that external reality finally be a physical manifestation, reflection of what's happening inward. And I have such a perfect example of this, which we can get into. I was going to wait, but I guess let's just do it now, because this is something that I personally super dealt with when I was trying to become a content creator. And it's just a perfect example of this. Like when I first started, I constantly was waiting, right? Because I was like, I know that I wanted to be a content creator, but I was constantly waiting until my numbers or my followers or my engagement or the emails that I got from brands, I was constantly waiting till my numbers and my external reality proved to me that I was a content creator. But the problem with that was that I wasn't even doing my best with creating content, because I was sitting there kind of waiting for someone to validate me. I was waiting for numbers to validate me, to finally be able to put myself out there, to have, try different content styles. Like I wanted to wait till it felt safe by me being validated by, like I'm saying, external numbers or people telling me like, hey, you're a really good content creator. Oh my gosh, I'm a really big fan of your work, XYZ. I was waiting for that to make me feel safe and validated, to then be continuing to, double my output and be more adventurous and experimental with my content. And the problem with that was I wasn't embodying the fact that I was a successful content creator and created accordingly. So it was impacting and showing up in my work. So it's kind of like, how would I expect people to like my work if I wasn't creating to the best of my ability, because I was constantly waiting for someone to validate me? Or how was I expecting to have brand deals come to me if I wasn't even consistent with my content creation? Things like that, which I feel like is the perfect example. Like your actions need to constantly be lining up with your goals. Hence what aligned action is. I say that constantly. So how do you expect your outward reality to prove that you can do it when you haven't even put in the real action to get there? And I feel like that's kind of the rude awakening that so many of us need when we have certain goals. It's like the same thing. Like I bet you there's someone out there that wants to be a painter, but they're not putting their work out there. They haven't painted in a while because they're waiting for someone to say, hey, I would really like to buy your work, right? But the thing is that day is never going to come until you put in the work and put yourself out there, when it feels uneasy, when it doesn't feel safe, when it feels uncertain, right? But you have to do that in order to create the opportunity for your external reality, to be a reflection of your internal reality, and have someone come up to you and say, hey, I actually really am a big fan of your work. I would love to purchase this. Like, do you do this full time? XYZ. And what's also really freaking cool about embodiment is that it inevitably causes you to take the appropriate action, right? Because back to what I'm talking about with how important action is, it inevitably causes you to take said appropriate action, because you are living as your most successful version would in order to see the results. So that's the thing. It's like, that's why it's so big when you listen to pretty much any freaking personal development podcast. It's like they always say, act as if, or how would the dream, think about your dream life, and then think about how that version of you living that life would live in order to have that life. It's like, it's impossible if you were actually acting as if your millionaire self, it's impossible for you to not have your actions be in alignment with the millionaire version of you, or else you wouldn't be a millionaire. Like clearly there's actions that need to be taken in order to get you to that dream version of yourself. And so by you showing up and embodying this dream version of you that lives your best life, your actions to get you there are inevitably going to show up, because you are acting as if you are the person who has already freaking done it. So here's a more like kind of real life example, because I know that not everyone wants to be a content creator, but if you're waiting to get promoted to like a leadership role at work, right? I feel like that's pretty uniform. If you were constantly just kind of waiting for your boss to give you the leadership role to prove to you that you are a good leader, when you haven't really changed your course of action, when you haven't actually like portrayed or demonstrated leadership roles yourself, like it's never going to happen. You're never going to get that position because your actions have never matched it. But I feel like, and it sounds so silly when I sit here and say it seems so clear cut, but I know that there's so many of us that's like, that live this way. And I'm not even trying to demonize you guys. Like I've done the same thing, like hence my last example. Like I've done this so often, I still catch myself doing it, where I find myself waiting for something outside of me to kind of validate that I can do something and have that, have my reality be a reflection of that. But my actions haven't even changed internally to cause that actual shift in my external reality. So on the other hand, if you focus on actually embodying what it means to be a good leader, right? That you stepped into that leadership role yourself, you showed up as such, right? You changed your energy, you helped those around you, you led by example, things like that. You actually had a shift in your actions and with your input. That's what would show your boss that you're capable of being a good leader. And that's what would kind of finally cause that physical manifestation, have you actually be able to experience being given that position on the 3D scale. But my whole point is that it starts with you first. Like, you need to declare, you need to embody the person that you need to be in order to have these certain actions be a reflection of that, in order to then have your life be a reflection of those actions that you've been putting in based on your new sense of self and identity that you have for yourself, because you are embodying and showing up as that person, as her, as him, whatever the case may be. And the third little point that I want to include of why I feel like embodiment has helped me so much is that I truly feel like when you actually embody kind of just like this blind embodiment of the person that you want to be or the life that you want to have, it gives you this innate confidence because, like I said, of acting as if, it kind of takes away that kind of worrisome or that self-doubt of like, oh no, what if I don't end up becoming her, or what if I don't end up having that lifestyle? It kind of takes that away because you're already wholeheartedly acting as if. So there's nothing to be kind of have self-doubt about or be nervous about, because you already are living as if you already have accomplished those things. So there's nothing to doubt or worry about because you already did it. And so for me, I know like wholeheartedly when I fully like stepped into this content creator identity for myself, and instead of like kind of hoping and waiting and worrying of like, will I ever be validated? Will something outside of myself ever tell me that I'm going to be a content creator? Instead of living from that kind of insecure space, I stepped into the role of like, my voice is getting hoarse because I'm still a little sick, but whoa. I guess it just kind of took away that guessing game for me where I was like, no, I'm embodying the fact that I am a successful content creator. And so it gave me this kind of weirdly newfound confidence when I showed up in my content, when I was creating things and I was talking to brands, which, as you guys know, like I totally think that confidence and self-love are complete cheat codes to life. And I think some of the most successful people in the world are successful simply just because they've believed in themselves. They didn't let self-doubt deter them, and they showed up confidently, which made other people believe in their abilities. So when you show up with that embodiment energy, it gives you this also like self-trust and this kind of self-respect that's instilled in you now, because you know you can do it, because you already have that feeling of like, oh, I already done it, so I don't need to feel like I need to worry about if I can do it or not, because I've already kind of theoretically proven to myself that I can do it. So that was a huge reason why embodiment really helped me more than anything. Was, yes, I think the energetics are a huge component of it, but with that, it gave me such this kind of newfound instilled confidence within me, which showed up in my work, which allowed other people to feel, and they were finally able to take me seriously, instead of me kind of shying away, constantly being insecure, waiting for someone else to validate me outside of myself. But how are they supposed to validate me if I don't even validate myself? Because it's very clear in my energy. Someone else who came up to me would be like, yeah, I don't know, I mean, I think you could be a content creator, but you seem kind of shy on camera, like, I don't know, right? But I was the one doing that to myself. I was shooting myself in the foot. Whereas when I show up confidently and I just embody the fact of like, no, I am a successful content creator, that shows up in the way that I show up in my content, which shows up in the way that people are receiving it, how it's being perceived and digested and all that good stuff. Anyways, my voice is getting hoarse because I'm talking a little bit too long for my little sick voice box. But anyways, I hope that you're getting like just the main gist of this episode that can inspire you enough to really just kind of cut the BS and be like, no, I'm just going to declare and embody the person that I need to be to live the life that I want to live. And I hope that this just inspires you to know that it really does start with you, and it does start internally and energetically. So for the affirmation for this epi, I practice embodiment with all things to show up confidently and wholeheartedly to take aligned action. Kind of a lengthy one. I practice embodiment with all things to show up confidently and wholeheartedly to take aligned action. So that's everything for this epi. I really hope you guys were able to get some value from it. As always, that's always my intention. I hope it could help you guys in some way, shape, or form. Maybe give you guys a newfound perspective to tackle your goals when it comes to this year of 2023. Also, I did just kind of want to send a little update for the seats that are available, for the Costa Rica retreats. I now have 1 seat available for the first wave, and I think now there's about 8 seats open up for the second wave. So I just want to give you guys a little status report, just because, again, people who are interested, I just want to make sure that you guys are up to speed. So if you are wanting to hop into that first wave, again, there's only 1 spot available now, so now is definitely the time to do so. I, of course, would love to have you guys, if any of you are thinking of joining us. It's going to be a very beautifully transformative experience, not only with like internal exploration within ourselves, but also being able to explore the beautiful country of Costa Rica with just other amazing like-minded women. I'm so excited for it. I cannot believe it's already happening like this year, like literally only almost 4 months out. Oh my God, that's insane to think about. Anyways, if you did enjoy this podcast episode or just want to support this podcast in general, the best way to do so, completely free to you, is to either just leave a rating or review. It completely really means the world to me. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, or you can screenshot this episode and post it on your Instagram story and tag me. I always love to see who is watching. But yeah, I really appreciate all of your guys' love and support. I'm sending you so much love, and hopefully I'll see you in the next epi. Peace out.